Hello, my name's Nathan Snyder. I'm responsible for modernization within DXC GrowthX. It's a pleasure to be here. We're looking at modernization from multiple different angles. AI-led modernization, deterministic, enabling legacy cores, rip and replace. I think everything is possible. The question is, what is it you're trying to achieve? So, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks. My name is Heijblom. I'm head of Mainframe within ABN AMRO, responsible for the Mainframe ecosystem, infrastructural-wise, and we deliver all the tools for application developers to develop and maintain their applications on the Mainframe.
Okay, thank you very much. I introduced myself this morning, so I skip this time.
Hello, everybody. Very honored to be here. Alexander Wiener, CEO of Element, company based out of Munich, Germany. We built an approach we call artifact-based legacy modernization, and it enables a more iterative and modular approach to mainframe modernization, but also transformation. Happy to talk more.
And you know a lot about me. I don't think so that it's needed to repeat everything. My name is Michał Niedźwiecki. What I didn't mention that I was a COBOL developer, and I implemented a lot of lines in our co-banking system, so I understand how it works. That's my story.
Perfect, thank you. So shifting gears, getting into the first topic of the discussion. I see a common pattern in the banking industry or even financial services, right? You can innovate without replacing the core. So let's start from you, Michał.
No, it doesn't. You can choose different ways. We started with a different kind of innovation, and I think it is not only way to migrate outside the mainframe. So I can discuss with colleagues.
Okay.
And any approach.
Okay, fine. Let's go with you, Alex.
I think I have to agree. I think, especially with the technology wave that has hit in the last few years, especially from ROI perspective, there is the possibility to actually understand the systems that have evolved through decades in the last decade. And I think it gives the possibility for the first time to view modernization as a modular approach in which you can keep stuff on the mainframe and keep the system in the core, but also migrate a lot from it and just be a lot more agile in the way you use the technology.
Henk, what do you think?
Well, I think a lot. First of all, the problem is not the mainframe or the programming language. The problem is or was the knowledge of the applications. Because the applications, the COBOL applications, were that good that they didn't have to change for years. So especially the backend applications. So that's my first remark. So the problem is not COBOL, the problem is not mainframe, the problem is the application knowledge and how to deal with that. And I think there are many approaches to do so. Well, like I told you this morning, we introduced an agile way of working on the mainframe. But before that, we introduced a layered architecture. And then where you develop via layered architecture with loosely coupled applications, you can switch or you put in and put out some functionality. So you will be far more agile to react to different circumstances.
Thank you, Henk. Peter.
Yeah, thanks. I fully agree with Henk. Modernizing is not the platform itself and the language, it's the functional knowledge. And that's how we also approached our modernization journey. With a new way of working, fully DevOps, Azure DevOps, the same as they are doing. And using modern tools to let the developers know more about the functionality. And all those people retiring soon with the functional knowledge, that's the one that you need to replace. And what we don't want to do is modernizing off the platform, but on the flat platform and using the capabilities of this big compute power to leverage business value for our company. That's how we do that.
Perfect. Nathan.
Thank you. Yes, actually I was talking to somebody a few months ago who said their mainframe core banking platform was not legacy, it was legendary. It was what actually ran their bank. It never went down. It was incredible. And I think, quite a lot of the conversation becomes, what's possible? Is it possible to modernize your entire core banking platform? Yes. Is it possible to retain it and enable modern services? Yes. The question really is, what is the business value you're trying to derive out of modernization? And based on the answer to that question, you can select the appropriate path. You can then decide how you're going to modernize. Modernize in place, modernize off, enable through additional services such as VUB we're talking about earlier. Everything is possible. Yeah. The question is, what do you actually want to achieve?
Absolutely. Agree with that. So slightly on a related topic, let's start from you, Nathan. Can the legacy platforms still enable digital and other channel services?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the big problems that a lot of banks have with core banking ledgers is the inability to interact on a real-time basis, right? And that is seen as a huge barrier to offering sort of more modern services. But with coupling light ledgers that operate in real time on top of core ledgers, you're actually able to enable a huge new world of available products very swiftly to your client base, whilst retaining the value that you still have in your core. There are cases where it's very useful to modernize services off of your mainframe core, but it's not necessary in every case if the thing you're trying to achieve is reduction of time to revenue for new product sets.
Perfect. Thank you. Peter?
Yeah, sure, you can. Our vision is that we modernize the mainframe, and that's two parallel tracks. Yeah? One is modernizing the current stack with our COBOL IMS DB2. We leverage a new way of working, DevOps, a lot of automation in the back end, code explain, code insight tools, and using REST APIs to open up the mainframe data to the cloud world. So it's a hybrid cloud solution. But on the other hand, we have that big machine with the compute power, and we try to leverage with new techniques on the mainframe. So what we also did is we run a full Web Liberty profile stack with Spring Boot framework behind it, and the automation is doing the trick. So for a developer, it doesn't matter whether he or she is developing for a cloud platform or for the mainframe. It's just a transparent way of working, and the automation under the hood of it does the trick. So the infrastructure is automated, is automatically serviced. All the security profiles are there. So that's it. We have quality gates with all kinds of tools. So that's how we try to leverage the mainframe with newer techniques. So Java, but also containers on mainframe. It's just possible. It's not those machines from the 60s and the 70s anymore. It's just modern hardware stack. And that's what we try to do and deliver value. So cost efficient. Running more applications on mainframe does not increase the cost. So that's a very good business case.
Perfect. Thank you, Peter. Henk, what's your perspective from Rabo?
Well, like I told you before this morning, we have more or less the same approach as ABN AMRO, and we are very happy with that.
Excellent. Alex, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think I agree, and I think having a visibility, having an understanding of what's running on the system itself gives you the possibility to expand that system, to build upon it, like the colleagues have done here. And I think it's the core to actually building something that's efficient in the long run, and also bringing in new talent that evolves the system, because the people that have built the stuff for decades, these people are joining now the companies and are the future of that company. So if they have a system they can understand and evolve, it gives them the possibility to really flourish and bring business value long term.
As you know, we chose the different approach, but because the project lasts around 10 years, we needed to modernize it, and we needed to adapt to the regulations, to the business growth. So our modernization was based on, for instance, adding the additional layers. When it comes to cost perspective, we added the layer of caching, for instance, and it reduced the cost of the operating cost of the mainframe around 40%. Then you can replicate the data outside and the process it according to what you need. So that could be the different approaches, and you need to be flexible. And the question which we tried to answer previously. And you mentioned that you need to check why you are doing that. What do you need? Is it only in the cost perspective or other flexibility? Do you have problem with process in your organization or the agility? Then you need to adapt on this side. And it doesn't matter if you are on mainframe or outside. On mainframe you can also modernize. Of course, on mainframe you have COBOL, but there are other archaic languages outside the mainframe. So we decided to move outside the mainframe, and I have a different perspective, but I couldn't agree with colleagues that you can choose the different approach. It's your strategy.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Now, let's go another way. So years ago, there was a new kid in the block, AI, and which is now a teenager, I would say, or a young person. So, and particularly with the proliferation of Gen AI and other aspects, it's creating an impact in terms of how we can modernize legacy systems, right? Of course, I hate to use the word legacy, but let's use it, okay? But for now. And I told you about 2 interpretations of legacy, so hence, whatever suits you, you can pick it up. So, when it comes to AI, what do you think is the role of AI in modernizing legacy systems?
So I think AI is massively important in modernizing legacy systems. I was talking to Alexander earlier, and 3 years ago his company started modernizing systems using AI technology. We've been on exactly the same journey over the same period of time. It's just important to remember it's one tool in the box. We deal a lot with customers trying to get out of CAGen systems, right? You come to the end of your 5-year agreement, the price goes up 40%, everybody wants off that platform. There is no development path, there is no future modernization path for that platform. You can do that through AI tools. It will take you 50% as long as doing it through a deterministic tool. The problem being there's only 3 deterministic tools on the market. You've got to find one of them. We bought one of them 4 years ago. So AI is fundamental. It's in the vast majority of what we do, but it's not in everything we do because it's not yet the tool that's fit for every single use case.
Yeah, sure, we use AI. If we wouldn't, I shouldn't be here, I think, because a presentation without AI in this is nothing. What we use it for is 3 things, 3 layers. We use it for our infrastructural stuff. So we use it to prevent incidents from happening. Earlier in the stage. So that's more for the operational part. But we also use it a lot in the application development front. So code explain and code insight tools. Tweezer gave a demo. We have a similar tool as well. So it gives you insight in the calling stack. We don't have monoliths, but still it can be difficult. And code explain to generate documentation for coding stuff, but then in a normal language, so it helps the maintenance of it. Then of course we have the tools that can do some coding for you, so the co-pilots of this world. And then on the other hand, you have the business value. You have business cases, and then you have to think about fraud detection and those stuff. The capabilities are there, but it's up to our business whether they use them or not.
Thank you. Thank you.
Less to add. Exactly the same situation at our side. So at the infrastructure part, so it's ICT versus business. On the ICT side, there is in the operational side, but also in the developing side. And it was on one of the slides, we are moving from programming to prompting. And a colleague of mine built a bank. That's perhaps there's a nice story. He built a bank in software because on a Saturday morning in January it was snowing in the Netherlands. And he has 2 sons who play hockey. But the hockey doesn't took place that day. So he said, "Oh well, that's boring. What I'm going to do? I'm going to build a bank." In one morning, using AI, he built, based on functional specs in his head, and he made it explicit, he built a bank with 170,000 customers, with batch processing, with an AI app, with an app, and that kind of stuff, and with a general ledger behind it. And it's not about the application, it's about try to think what's going on and what's happening in the world. So software development will be much, much faster. Roles will differentiate, and you must be able to prompt instead of to program. And that's what's going on, because he used 3 AI models. One to generate the bank in Python on the mainframe. The second one is another AI model to do it in Java. And the third AI model he asked for, well, I have 2 banks generated right now. Which is the best and why? And that's our world today.
Alex? Thank you.
I think a really interesting aspect when you talk about AI, AI is so much. I think generative AI has kind of dominated the discussion for the last 3-4 years because of the impressive feats you've been able to do. But deterministic AI has been there for decades and was able to understand the code base already. I think generative AI was now the last step to actually give the possibility to explain at scale. I think that's where LLMs really thrive. They make it possible to display, to explain, to showcase, and that makes the mainframe and the systems that run on the mainframe available for everybody in the company. And I think that's something, looking at how mainframe modernizations can work and have to work. You have to bring in the people, you have to be collaborative about it. And it's the first time where you're actually able to open up this system to everybody who's there. And I think that's the really impressive part of using AI. Software development is probably on the forefront of that, and being able to rapidly modernize and work with these systems and iterative on them. But I think you see so much in how to document, how to test, how to process, and how to showcase. I think that is the true power and why this is such a movement right now.
Perfect. Thank you, Alex. Mill?
I think in AI, we don't know what will happen next month, next six months. When I look to the new model, for instance, for Opus 6, it gives you so much more information, the precise information about the COBOL source code, about the architecture. It generates much better tests. So I think we need to invest into that, because when it comes to the systems like that, and if we want to have talents working with us, we need to let them to adapt. When they enter our company, I think they will let them to understand what is in this application implemented and how the logic works. And then if we have good idea, good engineer based on these models, he can implement and collaborate much better.
Perfect, thank you. So as Nathan alluded to, right? So AI is not the only solution for all of your use cases. You can't be looking, you can't be taking a hammer and looking out for the nails across your company, right? So, analogy. Let's look at the final bit. It's very important in my view, is from the various modernization programs you guys did in your company, can you briefly pick 1 or 2 lessons learned? It'll be good to understand, we always learn from others' experiences. So, perfect. Nathan?
Yeah, so we've done a number of modernization programs for different clients, and the one thing that keeps coming up is people who've started their modernization journey and are now stuck, right? And I think, the most extreme example, we had a client that was 10 years into a modernization journey that they thought would take them to, and they came to us for help. And we were able to complete that in 18 months. But fundamentally, you need to have the full plan from beginning to end before you make the first decision. You need to know, as you were saying earlier, how to roll back. And people follow standard patterns. Strangler fig is very popular pattern for modernizing legacy code. If you do it the wrong way, the interdependencies become exponential, and you will end up in a situation where you can no longer move forward or backwards. So knowing why you're doing it, knowing how you're going to do it, and planning the whole journey from soup to nuts, that is the success of a good modernization program.
Thank you.
Yes, of course, we did a lot of modernization and a lot of big projects as well. Mainframe has got some legacy techniques. We replaced them. And it's just by replacing the technique, it's just you have a vision where you are going to. You need to have proper stakeholders. If you don't have the stakeholders and the sponsors and they leave, then who's going to end up with the mess? Eh? So you need to have it's something for the long breath. That's definitely for sure. So that's what we learned as well. Start with an idea, make a plan, stick to the plan, and make sure that the stakeholders are there. And if they leave the company, that another stakeholder steps in. Otherwise, you will never finish it, and then it will become way and way more expensive. And in this way, we managed to keep the cost low. We even reduced the cost of the mainframe because a lot of licenses were double. So we got them down, and that's how we have still a competitive platform for it. But it's really a vision that you need to have. Vision on the horizon, that dot on the horizon, and stick to it, and ensure that you don't leave the path for it. So that's a difficult one. And what we also had is, for instance, the Java stuff on mainframe, which is very important for us because it leveraged the compute power for new techniques, is that you also have buy-in from the vendor. In this case, it's IBM. They deliver the platform. They need to support it as well. Otherwise, if they don't support it anymore, we're stuck and we can't continue anymore.
Absolutely. Henk?
Well, the first lesson is the main thing is that the board of directors must stand behind it. So that's your main stakeholder. So it's not a matter of weeks or sprints, like you said, but it's a matter of years. And our original planning was 6 years, starting at 2012, and we will finish next year. So think about it, and the longer the program is, the more interruptions you have. So at the payment factory, we had, well, somewhere in 2013, SEPA payments came to the table. And a couple of years later, it was instant payments. And well, there are lots of other things, cybersecurity, ransomware measures, and that kind of stuff. So stick to the plan. The executive board must stand behind it. They are the main stakeholders in this. Have a vision, so like we have mainframe like a hyperscaler, and modernize, because that's the way, modernize and standardize, that's the way you attract younger people, and you need the younger people to make it more efficient, to automate and that kind of stuff. Well, that's it, I think.
Thank you, Henk.
I think an aspect that we often see with clients, obviously it's a financial burden, but I think an aspect we now heard as well is time. It takes a lot longer than people expect, and I think even the start is often something that takes a lot longer as they expect. And I think with the tool suite that we built, and we started already the first assessment, the first system analysis is a lot quicker and gives the possibility to understand the problem and kind of the work they have in front of them is just a lot faster. And I think that gives the possibility to be more agile, to be more iterative, and make a lot of maybe 500 small steps instead of planning for almost years and then starting a program that by that time often is already legacy or old again. So I think this iterative approach is something that's really unleashed by AI, because you can understand the system a lot more nuanced, a lot more modular, and then can cut down timeframes a lot more, which just gives you the possibility to not get stuck, as Nathan mentioned already.
I think everything was said, but what to add? If you have vision, I think you need to check if you have capabilities to realize this vision. Doesn't matter if internal or external. If you have partner with whom you can do that, or internal, you have capabilities to deliver it, because it takes time. And sometimes it could come to you, any company, and offer to modernize that by moving to another system. And it costs a lot, much more than 10 years project, I think, or 12. On the other hand, don't forget that inside your core banking system, there are your history, your DNA. This makes difference. So I think it's worth modernizing what you have, because that's your DNA. And the second, I mentioned, split your work into small steps. Be ready for rollback anytime. Without that, it could come a day, and then you are not operating for 5 days. What your customer will say.
Thank you. I must say it was a fantastic 5 to be part of this panel. Pleasure, and thank you so very much for your time and the insights. Couldn't be any better than this. Okay, so I can't thank you enough. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for being part of the panel, and thank you so much, audience, to be being patient with us and listening to all the insights this morning. And we are literally between you and your lunch. Okay, so we are concluding now. So please carry on to your lunch, and thank you for your patience. Thank you for your presence here. Makes it special for us. Thank you so very much. Thank you.